Chapter 3 A Magical Meadow. Slowly, the loud roar of the wind faded and the sand beneath their feet was still again. Has the tornado passed? Tag asked. Blaze lifted her head to look out across the desert. Safe, she said, opening her wings. Tag blinked. He couldn't believe his eyes. The sky was clear and there was no sign that there had ever been a tornado. Look, Skyla gasped, pointing to a deep groove in the sand. The tornado had passed right over where they stood. Tag hooted in amazement. I can't believe how strong your wings are, Blaze. Blaze smiled. You saved us, Skyla told her, giving her a hug. Super strong winds must be another of your magical Firehawk powers, Tag said to Blaze, just like your flower power and your cry. Skyla brushed sand out of her fur. That was close, even with Blaze's flowers, she said. Tag checked that their piece of the emberstone was safe. Ahead, he could see a white-green line on the horizon. He pointed to it. Do you see that? We are not the end of the desert, Skyla cried. And she raced across the sand. Tag and Blaze spread their wings and flew after her. As Tag neared the edge of the shifting sands, he could see the tops of lush green trees. I hope there's water close by, Tag thought. He was thirsty after swallowing all the sand. Tag and Blaze soon landed in a meadow of fruit trees. Skyla stood near a pool filled by a small waterfall. All around them were hundreds of colorful flowers. Tag took a deep breath. The air smelled so fresh. Where are we? Skyla asked, picking a sparkly purple flower and tucking it beneath her armor. Tag looked at Gray's map, but there was no meadow. I'm not sure. Maybe this is a magical place? It sure feels like it, Skyla said. Blaze nodded and dunked her face in the cool, sweet-tasting water. The friends ate pineapple and mango and papaya until their tummies were full. Then they filled their water pouches and gathered fruit for the journey ahead. Tag flew into the branches of a nearby tree. In the distance were two tall brown hills. We are almost at the Whispering Oak, Tag called. We should keep moving. Can't we stay just a little longer? Skyla begged. Beep, Blaze agreed. Thorn or his spies might be close behind, Tag replied. We must go now. The friends walked to the edge of the meadow. The dark shadow of the hills crept closer, and Tag shivered as the air grew cold. Finally, they reached the foot of the two hills. The Whispering Oak is on the other side of these hills, Tag said. Chapter 4 Tunnel of Spies. We don't have to climb over these hills, do we? Skyla asked, looking up at the two huge craggy hills. Fly? Blaze asked. There is a path through the middle of the hills, Tag said, pointing to a narrow tunnel. That way will be quicker. The three friends entered the tunnel between the hills. It was dark and cold. The tunnel was as wide as it was tall, and Blaze had brushed the ceiling. Everything was dusty and brown. A few bushes and trees grew out of the rock-covered hillsides, but they were all dead or dying. It looks like the shadow has already been here, Skyla whispered, loading her slingshot. Skyla might be right, Tag thought, pulling out his dagger. I just hope Thorn hasn't already found the next piece of the emberstone. Skyla reached for the slingshot. Do we have any more acorns? She asked Tag. I'm running low. Tag felt inside his sack, then shook his head. I'm sure there will be more at the Whispering Oak, he told her. Is our piece of the stone warm yet? Skyla asked. Tag checked their emberstone. The two pieces they had already found had joined together to make one stone. It still feels cool, he said. Keep checking it. The stone will get warmer when we're close to the next piece, Skyla replied. As Tag walked along, something drip, drip, dripped onto his head. Tag shivered and wiped his face with his wing. It's too dark, Skyla said. Blaze, can your wings light the way? Blaze gently flapped her wings up and down. One by one, her golden feathers lit up in flames to let out a soft glow. The light cast shadows along the walls and in the nooks and crannies in the gray rock. Tag shuddered. This tunnel is the perfect place for Thorn's spice to hide, he thought. Tag took the lead while Blaze followed, with Skyla keeping a lookout to the back. Stay on your guard, Tag whispered. The tunnel grew narrower. There was a cracking sound ahead. Sand and rocks fell away from the wall. Tag held his dagger tight in his wing as creeping black shapes scuttled across the ground. We are not alone, Tag whispered. Chapter 5. Crag Beetles. What was that? Skyla squealed as something ran over her foot. Peep! Blaze called. She shook her feathers until they got brighter. Tag moved back against the tunnel wall and leaned down for a closer look. Hundreds of shiny black beetles crawled out of gaps in the walls and ground. Crag beetles, Tag whispered. They live inside cracks in rock and stone. Their shells are super hard. Skyla loaded her slingshot. They might be Thorn's spies, she whispered. Check their eyes. Tag looked for the orange eyes that all of Thorn's spies had, but the beetles' eyes were hidden beneath their hoodie shells. The beetles are small, Tag said. Maybe they'll let us pass? Scritch! Scratch! Blaze stamped her feet as a couple of beetles moved closer. The prickle ants were small too, Skyla reminded her friends, but they beat hard. We have to keep moving, Tag whispered. Just try not to make any noise. Tag tiptoed forward, slowly stepping over and around the crab beetles. He pointed his dagger at any that came too close. Tag could see a faint light at the end of the tunnel. Almost there, he said. Suddenly, one of the beetles dropped onto Tag's shoulder. Tag jumped and his dagger fell to the ground with a loud clatter. The beetles froze. They turned and looked up at Tag and his friends. 1,000 glowing orange eyes stared up at them as they raised their razor-sharp horns. They are working for Thorn, Tag gasped. He snatched up his dagger. Peep, 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 Blaze cried, her feathers shaking. The crag beetles quickly flowed past the friends' feet like a thick black river. What are they doing? Skyla asked. The beetles climbed up on top of each other, one by one, until there were no longer hundreds of beetles, but one gigantic mega beetle. How are we going to escape? Tag wondered. Blaze couldn't use her firepower. It would be too dangerous inside the small tunnel. So would her loud, piercing cry. Tag raised his dagger. We'll have to fight our way out of here. He charged with his dagger, knocking some beetles to the ground. Their shells were so hard that Tag couldn't hurt them, so he tried his best to break apart the mega beetle they had formed. Skyla shot her last few acorns at the mega beetle. Beetles fell to the ground wherever she hit. I'm out of acorns, Skylar called. Ted continued using his dagger to break up the giant beetle, while Skylar attached it with her paws and Bliss attacked it with her beak. Every time they knocked a few beetles away, more climbed into place. There are too many, Ted shouted, backing away. Uh-oh, Skylar gulped. Scratch! Scratch! More beetles skittered behind the friends. Ted slowly turned around. Crack beetles had climbed on top of one another and formed a second mega beetle. Now there was one mega beetle ahead and one behind. The friends were trapped.